Clint Walker, and you're watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Clint, and I'm Randy Hansen. In today's World News headlines, Moody downgrades credit ratings of 15 banks, and Assange awaits Ecuadorian decision on asylum request. And civil society says indigenous groups protest at Rio +20. And Bolivian President West out of step with ecosystem, he says. And protests held across Egypt ahead of vote result. 18 die in Taliban siege of resort hotel near Kabul. And California budget deal includes massive cuts to social spending. And Obama urges student activism ahead of loan deadline. And Senate approves new farm bill. And Supreme Court rules Fair Sentencing Act applied to pending cases. Zimmerman interrogated tapes released. And Romney to hold Utah retreat for major donors. And Bain profited from outsourcing under Romney. And U.S. opens offshore oil drilling in Gulf of Mexico. GVTV News would like to say the views expressed on our news broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views of NCTV Digital Media Center. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, credit agency Moody's has downgraded the credit ratings of 15 of the world's biggest banks, saying all at risk of major losses. Downgraded banks included Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, and JP Morgan Chase, which recently lost $3 billion on risky bets. In a statement, a Moody's executive said the banks have a significantly exposure to the volatility and risk of outsized losses inherent in capital market activities. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange remains holed up inside an Ecuadorian embassy in London after seeking refuge in a last-ditch bid to avoid extradition to Sweden, where he faces questioning on allegations of sexual assault. On Thursday, Assange met with Ecuadorian ambassador to Britain, while Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa said his government continues to review Assange's request. A WikiLeaks spokesperson said Ecuadorian officials have been supportive of Assange so far. One said, "We're very grateful, of course, for the support of the ambassador and Ecuadorians. It's putting some strain on the staff, and we're grateful for that. But I think it's known that the Ecuadorian government and President Rafael Correa is a subter of WikiLeaks and have WikiLeaks stand for and everybody. It's basically a good thing for journalism, things like that." Julian Assange, he is concerned that once he is extradited to Sweden, he could then be extradited to the United States. Protests continue at the Rio +20 UN Conference on Sustainable Development in Brazil. On Thursday, civil society delegates staged a walk out of the talks to call for bold action against global warming. Meanwhile, hundreds of indigenous activists marched through the streets of Rio de Janeiro to deliver a petition demanding fair treatment over the land and other rights. Tom Gould said, "What we are concerned about is Mother Earth is not for sale. Mother Earth is not a commodity to be traded on a trading system. The trees are not for sale." Speaking in world leaders inside the UN Conference of Sustainable Development in Brazil, Bolivian President Evo Morales called on rich Western countries to change their attitudes towards the world's ecosystem. Morales said, "It is not possible that the so-called 200 to 300-year-old civilization is able to destroy the harmonious life that the indigenous people have lived for 5,000 years. This shows the enormous difference between the Eastern nations and the South countries, and especially the social movements that live in harmony with Mother Earth." Egyptian activists are geared up for another day of mass protest Against the ruling military council, Islamic and secular groups have called for the country-wide demonstrations in the aftermath of the council's dissolving of parliament and weakening of presidential authority last week. On Thursday, supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood gathered in Tahrir Square after former President Minister Ahmed Shafik claimed victory in the undecided presidential runoff. One protester said the Brotherhood candidate Mohamed Morsi will be declared the winner when vote counting is complete. And said, "We have paper from the judges that Morsi is the real president. The civil organization and the rights organizations here declare that the real president is Morsi. So we have a paper. We have evidence that Morsi is the president. So where is the role of America? America is state for freedom, the state for justice. So we ask America to stand beside the revolutionists to win the heart of Egyptian people." In Afghanistan, Taliban fighters have engaged in a 13-hour siege of a lakeside hotel near the capital of Kabul. At least 18 people were killed. California lawmakers have reached a budget deal with Governor Jerry Brown that calls for deep cuts in social services to address the state's fiscal woes. The plan would eliminate a program that provides health insurance to nearly 1 million children of low-income families. It would also reduce college aid, cut funding for child care assistance, and impose stricter work requirements and shorter time limits for welfare. The plan avoids a potential showdown after Governor Brown pushed for more social spending cuts following the legislature's passage of the $92 billion budget last week. California could see billions of dollars in cuts in schools if voters fail to pass tax hikes slated for the November ballot. Congress is facing a looming deadline to extend low interest rates on federally subsidized Stafford loans to plunge millions of students into deeper debt. Rates were reduced to 3.4% in 2007, but will double July 1st for new loans unless Congress intervenes. On Thursday, President Obama urged groups of students visiting the White House to pressure lawmakers and said, "You keep this going. Don't stop until it's actually done. There's nothing more powerful than millions of voices that are calling on change. All of your voices can make a difference. So keep telling Congress to do what's right to get this done. Tell them now is not the time to double interest rates on your student loans. Tell them to double down on an investment in strong, secure middle class, and that means your education." The Senate has passed a version of the Farm Bill that includes $1 trillion in spending over the next decade, both for aid to U.S. farmers and for food stamps to low-income families. Senate bill cuts $4.5 billion from the food stamp program. House is expected to seek even deeper cuts. The bill ends direct subsidies to U.S. farmers, but expands the crop insurance program, which would cost $9 billion annually. Environmentalists have hailed a requirement that farmers who receive insurance subsidies must have basic environmental protection in place, but the bill has also come under criticism for failing to tackle the control of large agribusiness. In a statement, the group Food and Water Watch criticized the measure, saying the Senate passed a farm bill that left the largest agribusiness and food processing companies firmly in control of America's food system. The Supreme Court has ruled a law aimed at reducing sentencing disparities between users in crack cocaine and powder cocaine would apply to those cases that were pending and the law took effect. The Fair Sentencing Act was passed in 2010 to address the racial gap in prison terms between users of crack cocaine, who tend to more commonly be African Americans, and users of powder cocaine, who are more often white. The law loosened harsh mandatory prison terms imposed in the mid-'80s and set 1 gram of crack cocaine equal to 100 grams of powder cocaine. On Wednesday, the Supreme Court ruled to favor 2 Illinois men who were sentenced to 10 years prison for selling crack while their offenses were committed before the law took effect. Both were sentenced after it was signed by President Obama. Video and audio tapes have been released to Sanford, Florida, police officers interrogating George Zimmerman about his fatal shooting of unarmed teenager Trayvon Martin. The video includes Zimmerman reenacting the killing for officers at the murder scene one day after the slaying. In a video of separate interrogation, Zimmerman makes 2 astounding claims. Trayvon Martin, upon seeing that Zimmerman had a gun, did not retreat, but instead went ahead and said to Zimmerman, "You're going to die." Zimmerman also claimed that after he shot Martin at close range, Martin looked up at him and said, "You got me." George Zimmerman said, "When I shifted, my jacket came up and my shirt came up and exposed my firearm. And that's when he said, he like sat up and looked and said, 'You're going to die tonight.' And I felt him take one hand off my mouth and slide it down my chest and just pinched his arm. And I grabbed my gun and I aimed it at him and fired 1 shot. He kind of sat back and said, 'You got me,' or 'You got me. You got it,' or something like that." Zimmerman was recently jailed for lying about his fiance's during his bond hearing. Trayvon Martin's family has yet to respond direct to the new Zimmerman tapes. On Thursday, Martin's parents were featured as guests at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in New Orleans. Martin's mother, Sabrina Fulton, talked about losing her son and said, "This was our life, you know, this was my son, this was not a news story, and tomorrow it's gone. I have to live with this for the rest of my life." Unquote. Mitt Romney's presidential campaign is holding a gathering this weekend for its top financial backers. Around 300 donors, given at least $50,000, will convene in Park City, Utah for 2 days meetings with Romney and his top aides. By the way, this is like last week. We're just catching up since we just started the news again. Mitt Romney continues to face scrutiny over his time at the helm of the private equity firm Bain Capital. Washington Post reports that under Romney's leadership, Bain investment in a number of companies that specialize in outsourcing U.S. jobs overseas to lower-wage countries like China and India. Bain's holdings spanned a number of firms that were known as pioneers in the practice of sending jobs to call centers and factories making computer parts abroad. And the federal government has auctioned off sections of Gulf of Mexico for offshore oil drilling for the first time since the area was hit by the worst oil spill in U.S. history. Companies submitted $1.7 billion in winning bids for areas of the coast off of Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Oil company BP reportedly won dozens of leases to drill on the region near the sites of the historic 2010 disaster. Environmental groups had tried to block the sales with the lawsuit earlier this week, saying the drilling would imperil an already battered ecosystem. And that's it for World News today. Now we'd like to thank one of our underwriters who supports our only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News.
Soundcheck Music Center, the rock and roll connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. Jonah's an American. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter and pictures in the blotter, not from these actual events, but used for visual aid only. Grass Valley Police Department on Wednesday, 8:44 a.m. A caller from 100 block of Bank Street reported ongoing transient issues. 11:06 a.m. caller from 200 block of Sierra College Drive reported theft of an umbrella. 11:44 a.m. caller from 1900 block of East Main Street reported a counterfeit $50 bill. 1:56 p.m. caller from 100 block of Mill Street reported a woman shoplifted items which were recovered. At 3:32 p.m. caller from 200 block of Nevada City Highway reported 2 men beating their dogs. And 6:52 p.m. caller from 400 block of Lamarck Court reported an attempted burglary with screens off windows. And 7:53 p.m. caller from 100 block of Neal Street reported a person in a truck throwing open beer cans. 7:58 p.m. caller from 200 block of Bank Street reported a physical fight with a boy down on the ground. Report was taken for assault. Caller at 10 p.m. caller from 1800 block of Ridge Road reported theft of a purse from an unlocked vehicle. Notice the word unlocked. 11:25 p.m. caller from 100 block of Winchester Street reported a woman on a porch refusing to leave and yelling. And Thursday, 12:52 a.m. a caller from 100 block of Upper Slate Creek reported a man at the door offering him $20 for a ride to town. Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Wednesday. 9 a.m. caller from Highway 49 and South Yuba River reported a person lying on the side of the road. 10:37 a.m. caller from 17,000 block of Jones Ridge Road reported the theft of a well pump and other items from a foreclosed home. And 2:53 p.m. caller from 12,000 block of Lakeview Way reported the theft of washer and dryer by former tenants who also were growing marijuana. 3:17 p.m. caller from 30,000 block of Yellow Pine Way reported a trespasser. And 4:38 p.m. a man from 12,000 block of Highway 49 reported having trouble with his wife who was accusing him of stealing medication, money, and keys from her, and who was walking around giving him dirty looks. 5:19 p.m., woman from 13,000 block of Banner Lava Cap Road reported a residential burglary. And 8:18 p.m., caller from Alta Sierra reported an assault. And 8:38 p.m., caller from Highway 49 reported 3 runaway juveniles. One turned himself in later with the California Highway Patrol. 8:45 p.m., caller from 14,000 block Red Dog Road reported a burglary with multiple missing items. At 9:30 p.m., caller from 16,000 block of Cortez Court reported an assault. And 10:06 p.m., a man, 13,000 block of Idaho Maryland Road, reported a residential burglary. And 10:41 p.m., several callers from Torrey Pines Drive and Wanderer Road reported hearing shots fired. Nothing was located. 11:11 p.m., a woman from 11,000 block of Mill Pond Lane reported a man outside her window who said he was looking for a dog. Thursday, 5:47 a.m., caller from Salcedo Road reported a large pine tree down blocking the road. Nevada City Police Department on Wednesday, 9:33 a.m., caller from 100 block of Nevada City Highway reported a burglary. And Thursday, 3:35 a.m., a caller from 200 block of Broad Street reported a man trying to sneak into a hotel. He could not be located. 6:31 a.m., a caller from 200 block of Broad Street reported an attempted burglary to a business. And that's it for the Police Blotter today. Now we'd like to thank another one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. Like desserts? They got 'em. You like international style lunches? They got 'em. Christopher's Deli and Catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7 days a week. In local news headlines, man arrested after being held at BB gunpoint. And man arrested on drug charges at Sheriff's Office. And victim sought in timeshare scam. And Lake of the Pines man arrested on burglary charges. And the union announces change of leadership. In our first story, written by Liz Keller of the Union, an Auburn man remains in county jail after allegedly being discovered inside a South County home and being confronted by a homeowner with a girl's BB gun and a hammer. The homeowner, an off-duty peace officer, had gone to the residence on Brewer Road where he was in the process of moving in at about 11 a.m. Monday, according to dispatch reports. The man and his wife saw a strange car in the garage and he then saw someone moving in the house, said Nevada County Sheriff Keith Royal. The wife went next door to call 911. The husband went into the house and confronted the burglar. Then the chase was on, Royal said. The alleged burglar, identified as Jonathan Michael Bertram, 36, tried to flee, running around the house and then outside. The homeowner apparently grabbed him at some point, but Bertram was able to break free and run outside onto the deck. The victim grabbed a pink BB gun from the garage and pointed it at the suspect, Royal said, but Bertram allegedly attempted to flee again, with the victim chasing him around the house and driveway. The two eventually ended up in the garage where the homeowner picked up a hammer, Royal said. Bertram then allegedly jumped on the hood of his car where he stayed until deputies arrived. Deputies allegedly found a number of items inside the vehicle that had been taken from the residence, including Bose speakers, an iPod dock, a large remote control car, a Stanley toolkit, and an iPod. Bertram was arrested on suspicion of second-degree burglary with a prior vehicle theft record. He's being held in the county jail in lieu of a $25,000 bail. In another Liz Keller story out of the Union, a Nevada City man is back in county jail after he showed up at a Nevada County Sheriff's Office to retrieve his belongings while he was allegedly high on methamphetamine. James Clark Black, 31, had gone to the front counter of the office inside the Rood Center Tuesday to pick up his property after getting out of jail, said Sheriff Keith Royal. He was sweating profusely, visibly grinding his teeth with large pupils displaying all signs of being under the influence, Royal said. When Clark Black was questioned, he allegedly told a deputy he had smoked a couple of hits, but that he had been prescribed meth and was not legally high, Royal said. He kept calling the officer, Your Honor. He said he was afraid the officer would blind him and take his crosstops to the Emperor. Clark Black later allegedly asked the deputy to book his crack pipe and meth into evidence so it could be retrieved by his attorney. He was arrested on suspicion of possessing a controlled substance and drug paraphernalia, being under the influence of a controlled substance, and violating probation. He was being held without bail. Clark Black had pled no contest in April to unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor after being arrested in statutory rape and drug charges earlier this month. He had been arrested by Nevada City Police after officers responded to a call of an unidentified 17-year-old girl who claimed she had been drugged and raped. Clark Black allegedly was found to be in possession of methamphetamine. In another Liz Keller story, Placer County Sheriff's deputies are seeking more victims in a Craigslist real estate scam reportedly run by a Meadow Vista man. According to Detective Jason Doolittle, the man's victims included at least one Nevada County resident. This week, detectives arrested William Frank Lordier, 54, with assistance from LA County Sheriff's Office, and the former California real estate agent was selling timeshares on Craigslist. He used to work for a reputable company a long time ago, and he was used to using their names to sell fictitious timeshares, Doolittle said. The victims would sign a fictitious contract, provide their bank information, he would then make withdrawals, and they would never hear from him again. Doolittle said the timeshares were for different locations. He declined to release the name of the timeshare company due to ongoing investigation. So far, detectives have located multiple victims in the Los Angeles area, Nevada County, Oregon, and Washington. Anyone who has fallen victim to Lordier's scam is asked to contact Doolittle at 530-889-7844, 889-7844. In our last Liz Keller story from the Union, a Lick of the Pines man was arrested on multiple charges after he allegedly stole sunglasses from a pharmacy and tried to break into a woman's home. Caller from the 10,000 block of Comby Road initially called 911 at about 2 p.m. Wednesday to report a man was possibly trying to break into cars and was yelling. About 40 minutes later, a woman in 11,000 block called law enforcement to report a man who seemed to be on drugs was trying to break into her residence. She heard footsteps on her back deck, saw a man who was sweating profusely, said Nevada County Sheriff Keith Royal. She locked the sliding door to the deck before he banged on her front door, according to dispatch reports. A deputy was dispatched and arrived to see a man identified as Kyle Ryan Wooden at the front door, using his shoulder to try to force entry. Wooden initially did not respond to orders, but eventually was taken into custody, Royal said. Deputies allegedly found a syringe, a needle, suspected methamphetamine, and a spoon, as well as a pair of sunglasses that were believed to have been stolen from a local store. Wooden, 27, was arrested on suspicion of second-degree burglary, being under the influence of a controlled substance, and possessing a controlled substance and drug paraphernalia. He was being held in county jail in lieu of $29,000 bail. In our last story about GVTV News, the biggest competitor is moving. After serving Western Nevada County as publisher of the Union for 10 years, Jeff Ackerman will leave the paper to take a new role for Swift Communications, parent company of the Union. Swift Communication President Bob Brown announced Ackerman will serve as publisher of the News Review in Roseburg, Oregon, beginning in July. In addition, Jeff will have the added responsibilities as Swift Content Development and New Revenue Assessment Leader, a role for which he eminently and uniquely is qualified, Brown said in a statement. Brown also announced Dave Schmall, Director of the Digital Development for Swift Communications, will take over as publisher of the Union effective July 2nd. Schmall, 53-year-old Chicago native, previously worked as a publisher in Marysville, Peel's Democrat, and Tri-County newspaper for 3 years, and also has served as a publisher of several weekly publications such as the Dallas Morning News, Quick Edition, and the Sacramento News and Review. Ackerman also led the union efforts in creating community events such as Paint the Town Pink, which was raised $75,000 in advancement of local breast cancer care and prevention of Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital. He also spearheaded efforts to raise funds for the Nevada County library system, and the union readers have donated more than $98,000 in 3 years to local libraries. Schmall has served on the Chamber of Commerce and Hospital Foundation Board of Directors while in Marysville. Also has continued to serve as a member of the Beale Air Force Base Military Liaison Committee while working on SWIFT in the Reno area since February. "We didn't get much time to settle in," said Schmall, a father of two, who will move to western Nevada County with his wife, Jen. "We were in Reno for only 4 months, so we'll be looking forward to getting settled and make this our home. People should know we're going to be part of the community." Ackerman, 61, began his newspaper career as a reporter and editor at the Union, and he's 28 years at Swift. He's also been publisher of the Nevada Appeal in 1995 to 2002, and was general manager of the Sierra Nevada Media Group prior to returning to the Union as publisher for the past decade. "I've enjoyed every minute of it," Ackerman said, "because Dave has that community newspaper background and is familiar with the area. It's going to be a nice natural progression. And he'll bring some things here that we need now. I'm excited about the future of the Union, and with Dave, I'm comfortable and confident it's going to get even better." Well, we wish you luck. That's it for local news today. Now we would like to thank the Union, Amy Goodman, Reuters, and Associated Press, and others for the source of our news, and you for watching. You can watch this broadcast, Comcast Channel 11, Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30, Monday through Friday. And we got new times, 10:30 Saturday and 8 o'clock Sunday night. And we also stream on internet, NCTV's Digital Media Center website, NevadaCountyTV.org, and ours, GVTV.org. And don't forget Grass Valley Television. It plays 24/7 on the net, GrassValleyTelevision.com. We post to Facebook, YouTube, Blip.tv, and many other sites, and have RSS feed and video podcast on iTunes. Just search under video podcast for GVTV News. We're happy that NCDMC has moved, and it's time for content again is here, and we missed you all. Grass Valley Television also videotapes local events around Nevada County. If you have a need for video, you can always inquire and see what's going on with us. 362-8889 or grassvalleytelevision@gmail.com. Talk to you soon.